I'm Toby Jones, and this is my painting, Otters with Trout. You can see all my stuff at tobyjonesart.com. Okay, so I've got this sketch of some otters, and now I'm going to turn this into a painting. I'm going to get my pencil and set this up over here on the side, you see? Just out of view there. I'm just going to sketch that out here, not with a lot of detail, but just enough to kind of see where things go. And I'm going to have to imagine a little bit. I'm trying to imagine a marsh, shoreline. It's uneven and wavy. It's more interesting if we put shapes and waves in it than if it's just all the same. So that's probably a little farther down than I wanted it. I'm going to go again. Because I want to have a lot of water in this, maybe not so much the grass. You can imagine this is all just going to be marsh grass up here. I don't really need to put any detail on that. What I want to kind of do is figure out where my figures are going to be. I know I'm going to want some otters. And here's the quick glimpse of that sketch again. I know it looks pretty rough now, but that's going to become a work of art. Alright, so we're going to have one otter here, kind of looking back. Again, we can fix all the details later. He's in the water. He's looking back that way. Okay. Then over here, there's like a second otter. Yeah, okay. Right about here. This one's going to be eating something, so a little jaw there, some ears. So he's getting a catch of something. I think in my sketch I've got a crab, but I think I want to do a fish now. I think that's going to give me the colors I want. Maybe we'll add some crabs down in the water later. Nice shiny fish here. We'll do some effects to make this fish really pop out later. Like we're gonna have a lot of dark colors in here, including this otter's body. And it's going to be really dark colors. Let's get his feet up here, holding his prize. Now, say this one's got a little otter here, trying to get a little bite of that. And see how that develops. I want to imagine a water line here, and maybe they're perched up on an old log. Half submerged. Imagine what his little ear might be. I'm probably not going to talk through this whole video. Once we get going here, it's a lot easier for me to concentrate on the work and make the painting come out better if I'm not trying to talk and explain everything. But I'll definitely answer any questions in the comments area. And also, let's get some shading in here. And if anybody wants like more specific or detailed lessons, I can offer that as online lessons for some reasonable fee. But this is probably going to be mostly just a silent demonstration of painting the otter painting. And it's starting to be about what I need there to carry on. Again, what I've imagined here is some grass and reeds I'm going to fill in with paint. And I've already painted these patterns so many times, I'm really familiar. I don't feel like I need a photo reference to make a good image here. I'm going to have dark mud here in this band. Here will be the dark fur of the otter, and sunlight will light him up and create contrast in this area. And the otter's dark fur is going to create a lot of contrast here. I'm going to make this light and possibly light blues bring in from what might be the sky reflections, and that'll give us good contrast in here with the dark log and our fish shapes. Okay, well that's probably all we need for the initial sketch. So, alright, now let's get some colors mixed up. Okay, I'm ready to mix some colors now. I'm going to start with my student grade paints. It's going to be okay for this. We're going to do some marsh grass and reeds, and it's okay if the colors change a little bit. I'm going to come back over towards the end and adjust any colors I don't like or anything that's changed or muddied more than I want. But since we're going to have muted colors in the grass anyway, it's fine to use these student grade paints. The main difference is they might fade or change colors. They don't blend as well. They're not as consistent. Generally they're less toxic also than professional grade paints, and the pigment density is lower. But again, that's okay for our application here to make marsh grass. I know I'm going to use a lot of yellow, so I'll put that out. I'm probably not going to use much of this blue, but maybe a little bit just to make some richer browns here. Just drop my yellow. But this red we're definitely going to need. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put some white. And probably a lot of white. And I think some black too. We'll go ahead and add some black. We don't need much of that either. And what I'm going to do is mix this up and try to create a gradient of browns and greens that I think might serve as the various colors that we might see in a patch of marsh grass. I know my base colors are going to be an orangey tan color yellow. You probably want to look at a reference, you know, if you're not, you know, I've painted the marsh a lot and I've been in the marsh a lot, and I don't feel like I need a reference to make this image and to get the colors I want to get here. So I'm just going to do it on the fly with no reference, but feel free, you know, definitely use a photo and get reference if, you know, to get those special colors you want. Okay, I'm just going to mix these in. Oh, almost forgot. We're going to add some of this blending medium, slow dry. It'll stop our acrylic paints from drying so quickly. For these larger paintings, it's especially important because our whole palette will dry up before we can apply the paint, even if we don't use something like this. I also like to add a little water too to thin these down and make it more spreadable in the first few layers. We don't want any thick chunks in the first few layers of paint, because then it's hard to make corrections and fix stuff. But as long as we have thin layers, that's not a big deal at all. We can feel free and experiment and try things, and if we don't like it, we can fix it later. So I'm adding that blue to get more greens in here, and then I add more red to brown that out and darken it up. And I'm really just trying to get a gradient. I'm not really going for a specific any color right now. When I add this white, these hues are gonna, you know, pale out, and we'll get a good range. I'll probably start with the white and just mix some of that in here now with this blending medium so it doesn't dry out. And start working that in over here. And I'm trying to leave little samples of all of the in-between colors in here, and I'm trying to create a some kind of gradient effect here. And I'm starting to like how these colors look here. This is looking very marsh grassy to me for the highlights. These very light yellowy green colors. So I'm going to darken these up over here a little bit too with some more of this blue. You can darken your colors with blue and red, and it makes like a really dark purple, and then that'll become a dark brown color when we stir those in. If you get more green, you add more red. And there it is. Starting to gray out because we have so much white in there, but that's okay. It's all part of our spectrum here. Stirring some of this blue. Now let's get some darks going. I'll grab some of this black and let's grab this green. Some nice darks coming that aren't just jet black. And work them on the outside over here on the other end, so kind of a scale going light to dark. Okay, I'm kind of liking that. Just set that palette knife down. I'm going to grab a big brush. Something like this. You get it wet in the water. Go ahead and just start picking up bits of this paint. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the camera position back on the canvas now. Start grabbing bits of these colors here. It's going to be hard to see this, but I'm going to grab some light and some dark on the same brush and just kind of start wiping that in up top here. Go ahead and get you tilted up here. There we go. You know, this brush might be a little too stiff. I think I'm going to have to get a different brush. It's just too stiff. Luckily I have one nearby. So I'll grab this bigger brush. It's a little bigger, it's a little softer. And again, I'm going to get some of both colors there. Mostly the light, but some of the dark. Come up here. Light. Yeah, that's not bad. That's working. I'm going to be careful not to flick this too much, and it'll flick paint, you know, up into the wall or whatever. You want to go not too fast with it. Just trying to make sure I get all the canvas covered and get some background color here. We can come back and hit this again. I'm more of a layers painter, and it's not really Bob Ross style where in one pass we get everything we need. It's more of a building approach. Mixing some of these colors right on the palette with the brush there because I'm running out. I didn't mix enough. It's okay if we have dark spots and light spots. That's no big deal. We kind of want, that's what we want really. Again, this is imagining marsh grass here. I'm thinking of a place I used to go in, Princess Place Preserve near Flagler Beach, Florida. It's got great marshes there. It's one of the places I've seen wild otters up close, and the backwaters and streams there. I like how those reeds look. Need to get more of that dark down near the base. Maybe I'll just put a streak of that dark here. Okay, this big brush is getting a little out of control. I think I'm going to have to swap it out for a smaller one. Now that I've got a lot of paint up here. It's starting to feel a little reckless. I'm trying to save myself work though with this big brush. Get lots of paint on. This is a big canvas. It's a 24 by 36 we're working with right now. It's a little big for an on-the-fly painting like this. Let's say once we get into the painting, I'm probably going to start talking less and less and get more into the painting. I'm just kind of tapping out places where the canvas is still bare. Last thing I want is a piece of bare canvas showing through in the final picture. That's a good base color for some reeds. Alright, I think I'm going to set down this big brush now and grab something a little smaller. About this size. I'm going to grab some of this dark, maybe some of this reddish stuff here. Come near the bottom of that and kind of pull it up there. See if we got some grass and roots and things down there, not getting much sunlight down here. Not much sunlight at all down here. I'd add a little more greens in there just to keep it interesting. A lot of this stuff going all different directions. And some reds over here. things are in here, going all different directions. We'll get some good patterns going, then we'll come back in with a small brush, and where we see, nice strokes that we like, we'll embellish those and highlight those and bring it out. Right now we can just play around and see if something random happens for us. I know about where the colors go. Okay. All right. We talked about some black mud earlier. It's going to be here in this area. It's not going to be all black though. We're going to have light shining back off of that, but let's give it some base color here and try to decide where our mud starts and our grass starts. Now there can be little grass out here too. This good dark mud will give us something good to create contrast and make our lights look really bright when we have these dark colors in here. I've heard some artists say they don't want to use any black in their paint. They want to mix dark colors, mix purples. And, you can really use it to make your lights come out. Create that contrast, to create that muted color on purpose. You don't always want the brightest possible hues in your painting, especially in a painting that's supposed to look natural. In this area, especially in this area, I want to make sure to keep everything nice and thin. I'm going to get a little more water because I don't want any thick paint under where this otter is going to live. It'll make it very hard to make corrections in this area. Make sure that's thin. Well blended. Going around with this black, moving it on where I might imagine some mud to be. This is the area where there'd be little stumps. Maybe the tide's down, the water's down in the creek a little bit. Maybe there'll be fiddler crabs and holes and little things like that in here. We can add in as details later. Let's grab more of that black and some greens and reds, just to create a myriad of browns and colors, just so it's not a boring straight black. It's okay if we don't get a perfect shoreline here. We're going to come over with some other layers and make all that look nice. What I'm doing now is tapping down where the roots of these grasses might be so it doesn't look like such a painted line. You got to give it a natural kind of look. Little specks and even places. I'm trying to break up those brushstroke lines in there. I don't really want to see all of that in my shoreline. Brush strokes. I want a good mud effect. To really get good mud effect, we're going to have to come back in and add some highlights and some reflections and sunlight that play on top of the wet mud. We can experiment with it now, but we'll probably have to fix it later. Let's try it. Let's try it with some light and just try to drag it across here and see what happens. Some really light. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's not bad. Maybe. I think I'll stop there. To have a better idea of what we're working with. We're going to have some reflections in here. We might go ahead and start with that. Just use up some of this extra paint that's still wet here, just to get our water started. Because it's going to be about the same colors we have up there, but maybe a shade darker. Maybe a shade darker. So I'll get these colors a little wetter than before and come down here and just try to add some of that in here. So our reflective water is going to be very same color, very similar, very close colors to what's above, to what is reflected. Sometimes it's a little greener too when it's in the water. It's picking up some of that tint and color from things under the water. It's a lot brighter than what we got. We can always come up here and make this brighter too if we want to. Put some of these brights and yellows up here and make it match what we see down here. And since this is water, we're probably going to be looking at it more. You're seeing colors more side to side in here. Probably darker. I'm thinking darker. Yeah. I don't really like that though. I think that's too dark. Yeah, too dark. It's okay, we'll just bring in the light and start smearing that around. Wipe off some of this green. We've mixed up a palette of browns using those same base colors again, the primary red, the primary blue, and the primary yellow, and I've stirred those up until I got a nice mix of siennas and browns in here that I want to use for some riverbed colors, maybe that you might see through the water. So I'm kind of creating some layers here of color that I'm going to later turn into the water and the transparency. So I'll just start down here at the bottom with the dark colors. Just going to get some of that dark. I'm going to start at the bottom and just tap that into the bottom. Do that all the way across. Some places I might get more green or more red, but that's okay. The variation in the river bottom will make it interesting. I want to be careful not to get any bright red in there though, like I've got there. I'm going to mix that back out so it's nice and dark. And this riverbed part, I probably do want to keep an even line across here because we're going to use this to create a water effect of transparency. I'm going to do that by having dimpled colors and layers on the bottom, and then we're going to bring the reflected light that we're going to paint in the middle area and leave it with some opacity as we pull it across these patterns and irregular dark forms that we have down here, and it'll create an illusion of transparency. That's the goal anyway. Doesn't always work. That's why I don't really want this too even. I'm going to just dabble around the lights and darks in different places, and I'm trying to create an uneven pattern. Then in the later layers we'll probably come in and create more ripply type effects that you might get from light and water to really sell the water, to sell the liquid effect. We're now still just applying these browns. I'm going to need more red to finish this. I'm going to get some of my primary red. Just add that right into the palette there. I'm just going to mix it with the brush right here. That's all. That's all. I don't want to leave much of that canvas showing through there. I at least want to touch every little piece. Get this bottom layer in without any exposed canvas here. I think I'm going to keep going. I think I'll add some more yellow and keep going. might get into some darks here. Maybe some darker shades. That's where the water is going to be a little deeper. It's moving away from us here. I want to have a lot of contrast with the reflected water. It'll be overlapping here. You'll see part of the reflected sky and part of this riverbed down below. It'll give us a chance to add some layers and depth to the painting. I'm going to go ahead and let it thin out up here a little bit, not worry too much about rich colors. This is probably going to be underneath the reflections now. Actually, there's our beaver body is going to be definitely showing through a little bit, so yeah, it'll still be transparent through here. So, and it needs to be dark too, but not darker than the beaver. His body's going to be the darkest thing in that spot. So this isn't going to be our final color. There's going to be some layers on top of this. Right, this beaver will probably be casting a shadow down here. We want to make sure to leave a really dark patch right down here. This whole area, actually. Don't want to forget that. That's another way to add to our liquid illusion. Just to have this dark figure down here. And we'll be lightening it up here. Just going to moisten the brush and get some of this paint down here, get it really thin, and just start working it up here to fill in anywhere that hasn't been touched yet. I might want to start think about flowy patterns in the sand and how those might look from a distance, at a depth. I know up close I'm going to want big shapes and big forms, and then have those diminish back to create the illusion of depth. I can do that with light and dark spots by showing dark values and lights right next to each other. We can do that. And then we also have those fade and blend more with the background color as we get further back into the deeper water. This will make more sense once we add the reflective water in the next step. We're going to add some light blues and darks and fill in this middle area with reflected light. then this illusion will start to be more visible. It's starting to look like a good river bottom. I'm also doing this to help clean out my brush already too. I know I'm going to need some color here, and this is the right color, or at least one of them, to blend in here with the surface water and create a nice color, rich color profile. I don't think I want to go much higher than that though. I'll probably wrap this up, and when I come back we'll be adding the blue reflective water over this. It's going to give it depth and make this look more like sand and river bottom. It might seem hard to believe at this point, but that's what's going to happen. Okay, what I'm working with now is an array of browns I've mixed here in the usual way with the three colors, the primary red, primary blue, primary yellow, and I've mixed that into an array of browns here. And I'm going to start making some watercolor, so I've taken some of the blue and some white, and I'm going to just make a really light bluish color over here. And then I'm just going to grab a little bit of this brown color and mix that in, just to dirty up that blue a little bit. It's a little teal, a little more teal than I wanted, but it's okay. And just add more white and more blue. It starts to get more like the sky blue. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. I'm going to grab a soft camel hair brush. Get that wet. And I'm going to pick up some of this blue. Just going to come right in here in the middle and start applying that in some streaks. And sometimes I'm picking up more white, sometimes more blue, trying to vary it up. I'm going to try and preserve this sketch of the otter here. I misspoke earlier and said beaver, but this is an otter. We're creating an otter painting. What I'm trying to do is just get some paint on the canvas and mix it up a little bit so it's not all one color. And you can see when I get over the top of that brown what's going to happen. So we'll be able to create water effects. I don't want to get into that too much yet. I just want to get some paint on the canvas. Try not to lose my otter form. I could have drawn the otters first, but I've chosen not to. Doesn't really matter. In this case, the borders will be a little easier to make look right with the otter when we come in and add that fur and the dark form. And this brush might be too soft. I might want to trade this off for something a little firmer. I'm having to push it really hard. I think I'm going to try a firmer brush. here's a white bristle brush, a little bit firmer. Just going to grab some of those same colors. Yeah, I like that better. Got more control with the firmer brush. Allows me to scrub that paint in there and get more of a fine gradient. I can blend a little better, blend back into this greenish color. It's probably too green. We're probably going to come back and put more golds into that and make it look more like the reflected reeds. Get some darker blues on here. Grabbed a little bit of this dark color here and mixed it in there just so we can get some variations and kind of blend in this water pad down here. I don't want my brush to be too wet. Now I can start blending in some more interesting shapes here where the reflected water might start giving way to the transparency. That's what we're trying to do here, is represent that area. We have reflections, and then it becomes transparent as it gets close to you. Just creating some ripple effects here. A lot of times water effects will make a sort of a diamondy patterns here. That's perfect. It's starting to feel like liquid just a little bit. Not there yet though. To get closer, I might want to get the shapes a little rounder and start flattening out the surface a little bit, bigger shapes. Anywhere where the blue looks too unnatural, I want to come in with some of this browner stuff. Just hit that a little bit. Knock it back into a realistic shade of blue. Yeah, it's getting there. I've got some pretty dark colors already mixed here for this, to knock the blue out of that, to create more of a natural hue, or a natural mix instead of a pure hue. I think I'm going to grab a smaller flat brush now though, since I have these dark colors, and maybe we'll go ahead and trace the outlines of these otters here. I'm just going to grab a little black paint, because I want to have some, these are going to be my darkest forms. They're going to be the otter and the log he's perched on there. So I'll get some of this professional grade black. Let me find a good trusty flat brush here. I'll try this one. It's got a bit of an angle to it. Let me mix that black. Put a little slow dry medium with that black. I'm going to mix that in with some of these browns over here now, especially this red. Got some nice shades of dark red. A little purple too. We have some nice purples and sheens and the otter fur. In fact, after we get our base colors down for the otters, we'll probably pull out some professional grade paints and mix up some exact hues and try to get as bright of a, or as perfect and bright of a color as we can get for him. Okay. Some good darks. I'm just going to pick up some of that and start tracing this outline we made earlier. There's our otter. He's perched on a log. Probably a she in this case. So we're going to have a little one in here. And then this brush is too soft. I'm going to go with a slightly firmer and smaller brush. I'm also going to need my steady stick, which is really just a closed pickup stick I ordered on Amazon for $12. Or you can buy a professional artist steady stick if you want for $40 or whatever. Oh, that's way too light. I'm going to slide the painting over a little just so you can see what I'm doing here. What I'm trying to do now is make that form, the otter form, pop out here. You can always come back and refine it. Oh, that's right, this otter's going to be eating some fish. So maybe the mouth is open. Yeah, we'll come back and fill in the mouth area there with blues and water. Paw. I'm just trying to get our forms to pop out and start thinking about where our reflections might land. Just grabbing colors off the palette that we've mixed there. The red and black and the browns. I'm going to get this really dark under here. It'll make the fish seem really bright. Whatever's up here we're going to have in the reflection as well. Okay, a little guy. We want some of the fish. I don't want to lose track of those eyes. Same thing with this guy over here. Let's keep track of those forms. You can see our otter form starting to emerge. We'll start grabbing some of these lighter browns. still too light. That's okay. You can always keep adjusting. You need to start thinking about how to distinguish this log from these otters, and how to distinguish big otter from little otter here. I'm guessing the little guy will have to be the darkest, and he'll stand out against the fur if we put some light and sunlight and reflections in the fur of the big one. That should make it pop out. You know, this is too dark right now. The log, maybe the log will add some green in there to separate these. These guys have a reddish fur, but the log will make a dark green. There we go. So there's that little otter. There's a little paw there, as you can see. Trying to lighten that up, but I accidentally got too much blue there. I have to come back and fix that. Maybe I could draws a little. Oh, there we go, that'll blend in. That works. To gray it out a little. Just matting it in there now, creating a little texture. Just playing around. Let's do the same thing on the big one. Oh, that's too green. Let me get some of the reddish brown and the black. Got a little bit more of that blue-white there. I'm just going to use that to gray out some of the spur on the big one. Too brown. Just add some of this blue white and it'll gray it down quite a bit. Too much in this case. You can see otter forms starting to emerge. There's some otter forms starting to come out here. This part's kind of fun because you can just kind of feel where it goes. Feel where the highlight should be. You can always come back and make corrections. It's not just right. Let's put some color on this log. I'm thinking green. Definitely not blue though, we need some more yellow in this log. Okay, we'll just stop right there for now. Now, go ahead and add some more detail to these otters, but you see kind of the pattern. I just mix the browns and right in there, and then try to create lights and dark contrast, and then separation of opposite colors like red fur and the otter, and then maybe some green colors in the log. And I'm just going to keep going on that till they really start to come out. Yeah. I've got a lot more blue in this painting than I wanted to have, so I'm going to try and balance that out. And I've got a flat white hair brush here, it's pretty firm, and on my palette I've mixed up a gradient from white to black here with some gray in the middle. And I'm going to use that to add some gray and gray tones in here in the water to try and balance out some of this blue. Some of this might be cloud reflection, from a cloudy day or something like that. I'm just going to deepen the color profile and create better contrast here with the blue hues we have in here. While I'm here, got too much dark on the brush. I'm kind of doing a sweepy side to side motion there to trying to make it a little wavier, more water-like. Yeah, that's it. There it is. It gives it more of a surface sepia, like maybe water ripples. That's what I'm looking for. I'm using some water to thin that out a little bit as I get down here towards the transparency area. Got bigger shapes, you see, leaving lots of the original colors showing through. Just creating ripples here and there, just like light might do. The real water. It's okay if we get over that fur a little bit. We're only in the first layer. We're going to come back and add lots of nice details in there and highlights. Got a bit of a clump going over here where I had some thicker paint that didn't get mixed. So I'm just going to add some liquidy paint to that and try and spread it around a little. Don't want to lose all my color back here. Okay. It's really up to you how much blue you want to leave in there. As long as it looks right and feels right. To me it didn't feel right on the blue I had before. Like that spot feels too dark. As we get up here toward the weed reflections, I'm going to start making smaller strokes. We're going to come back in the next round and add more reflective layers in here because that top shoreline, it doesn't look quite right either. It needs something. Needs another layer of detail. Another way we can make this water stand out. We can add more reflections. You know, I think that's too light. I'm not liking that. I can darken this up quite a bit. Just right here, though. I'm going to make a shadow here or something darker. Just add more layers of thin white, thin gray. Just blending it in, trying to make it a little smoother. And add some of these darks in here into our otter shapes. Probably not going to be straight black, but this will help lay a foundation for the colors here. Just get a little more liquid in my black so it'll apply a little smoother. I'm just trying to look at the shape above and mimic what we got there. Just roughly. And that'll suffice for now. I don't want to get carried away there. Alright. So let's add one more layer to the surface water here, something to give it a little shimmer. I've got some professional grade cadmium yellow light here. And I don't want to use the student grade paint here because it might change colors on me when it dries, and this could be a final layer in some areas of the canvas. It could be, it doesn't mean it is. Okay, so I'm going to get some moisture and get a little bit of that cadmium yellow and mix it in with this white gray over here. Just a little bit. Just enough to give me some contrast and to break up the straight white. that same brush to pick up some of that and just work some of that in there. This is our sunlight bouncing off pieces of water.